We're about to start. All right, Jackie, go.
God bless you, everyone.
Dios les bendiga a todos.
Welcome to our second Helping Hands and a Smile podcast.
Bienvenido a nuestro segundo podcast de Helping Hands y una sonrisa.
Before we start, we're gonna say a prayer.
Antes de empezar, vamos a orar.
So Jay Suni is gonna pray for us.
Amén. Amante Dios y Padre Celestial, venimos delante de tu preciosa y divina presencia, Espíritu Santo de Dios. Dándote las gracias, mi Dios amado, por permitirnos una vez más, mi Dios amado, estar juntamente aquí, mi Dios amado, unánimes, mi Dios amado. Mira la intención, mi Dios amado, y el propósito, Jehová, que estamos aquí reunidos, mi Dios amado. Yo sé que esto va a ser un podcast fructífero, mi Dios amado, y de bendición, Jehová. En el nombre de Jesús, mi Dios amado, te damos a ti toda la gloria y toda la honra, mi Dios amado. Amén.
So Jay Suni is gonna be our speaker for today.
Dios le
So
bendiga.
whatever questions, she's here. You could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Ok. Mi nombre es la hermana Jaysuni. I've been teaching for the past, more than 15 years and plus. I've done regular ed and I've done Montessori and special education. Amen. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. I love what I do. And to God be the glory, it has been a growth or learning experience. So I just want to start off with how to start the process of an early evaluation. Okay, I know that's one of the questions that a lot of parents ask. You know, how do you start an evaluation when it comes to special needs children? So first thing, I just want to give you a little bit of a definition of what is autism spectrum disorder. So you guys know that autism spectrum disorder is also known as ASD. And is a broad term used to describe a group of neurodevelopmental disorders. Children with ASD possess a complex condition that affects brain development and can create difficulties with social interaction, verbal and nonverbal communication, and emotional control. Autism spectrum disorder exists on a spectrum from a very mild condition of social awkwardness, formerly called Asperger's syndrome. So you have the umbrella. So Asperger's syndrome is the tip of what is autism is, okay? Just have in mind that autism falls under different stages. It goes from mild to severe. So in which language does not develop in childhood but may develop later on. So that's why you see many autistic kids that they don't speak, that they like to do sounds, they like to hum, they like to do certain things with their fingers. Why? Because that's how comfortable they feel within, their own development. With marked impairment in social relatedness. So many children with ASD learn and react differently than typically developing children. Each child possesses their own unique set of challenges. Okay, so don't think because your child is autistic, that everything is bad. No. Autistic kids are very smart. They are bright. They're very smart. They're very bright. Amen. And you would, because you lost me. In reality, they actually create their own. They become special in their own unique way. Okay, like you'll be surprised at what they can do. Amen. So each has a particular way of processing, socializing, and behaving. This results in each one having a unique, individualized disorder. While no cure has been found for autism, early treatment and intervention have proven to have a profound impact on many children's growth and development. Amen? So now the first step on how to start the process of early evaluation for your child is your child's referral to the EIP. It's very important. which stands for Early Intervention Program. I love early intervention programs. I've worked in it. That's where I started to work. When I got into the special needs field, that's where I started in the early intervention program. And let me tell you, I love it. I like what they do, okay? In the county where you live. So the early intervention program is a public program for children under the age of 3 who are either suspected of having or at risk for developmental delays or disabilities. So I need you to understand that all counties in New York State and in New York City have an EIP. And I can help you with that. That's what I love. I love to help my families and my parents. You know, so children who may need services must first be referred to the EIP. But let me tell you something, parents. Parents have the right, okay? You are your child's first advocate. Don't forget that. You are your child's first advocate, even if it's your grandkids or your child. If you have custody of them and you have guardianship over them, you have the right to advocate for them. And you can refer your own child to the EIP if you feel that you have a concern about your child's development. Okay? You don't need to wait to get a psychologist. No, you advocate for your child. You be like, you know what? I need to make an appointment for this. I need to make an appointment for this. And they have to listen to you. Okay? Because mommy knows best in everything. Okay? So the EIP helps the family set important goals for the child and helps create a specific plan to help meet those goals. Do we have any questions up to there? We're good? Okay. Okay. So, the EIP is funded by the New York State and county governments. Okay, so that's a good thing. So you can look into the New York State Department of Health for more information. I want you to also inform you that EIP has extended their programs, which I love. They have extended their programs, and it goes from the ages 0 through senior citizens. Okay? And it breaks down into the services according to the age, and you can get more information through ARC. Okay? ARC stands for Association for the Help of Retarded Children. So I do want to do a pause here. Retarded is taken out of vocabulary words, okay? It's just, they go by the first letters of the initials of these words, okay? So disregard that word, amen? So their mission is very self-explanatory, so I could also give you the website. Now, another thing that I love that goes along with the EIP, because the parents have a choice. They could go with the EIP, or they could go with what we call ABA therapy. I worked in that area too, and I love what they do. Okay, so ABA therapy stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. It's really good. So an ABA assessment is conducted as an independent evaluation. So it's more of a private evaluation. So ABA is a therapeutic approach that has been shown to improve socially significant behaviors in all areas of development for children with ASD, but check this out, and other behavior challenges. So it doesn't only just focus on autistic kids, but it's also help out kids in other areas where they have a little bit of a challenge. So ABA is more comprehensive than EIP, and it's more commonly used to address problematic or dangerous behaviors and to improve skill deficits for individuals that have been diagnosed with ASD. So remember that I said that, autistic or autism goes from mild to severe, so that's where ABA comes in. So if you feel that your child along the way becomes a little bit aggressive, don't worry about it. We have an intervention that could also work in that area. Okay, so that's what we're here for. We're here to, inform you and to help you along the way. So ABA is effective for people of all ages. That's what I love about ABA. It can be used from early childhood to adulthood. Okay, so it just doesn't only stay stuck on just one or an age group. It goes from early childhood to adulthood. And ABA can be funded through private pay or insurance, but it's typically provided by agencies. Okay? So the ABA therapy process is focused on success, and ABA therapy is the only clinically proven therapy for children with autism and endorsed by Autism Speaks, American Academy of Pediatrics, and Autism Society of America. Do you have any questions here? Okay, we got the questions. Go ahead, sis.
Good evening, everyone. My question is, can you said that ABA can start from when someone is young all the way to
So adulthood, yeah.
adulthood. If is it possible that someone or a child on autism could have or just anyone, right, could have the ABA program happening without IEP, and if so, do they still get services the way one with IEP would?
Yes, they do. They do. That's the beauty about ABA. ABA, you could do with the EIP or without the EIP. Because ABA is more private. It's open to everyone, but it's more private services, if that makes sense.
So does that mean that it happens within the school or outside in an agency?
No, you could do it within the school or you could do it outside the school.
Does that also mean then that a child who is under the umbrella of ABA, right? They're getting those kind of services.
Mhm.
Are they considered to still be in special education, or are they going to be in general education?
Well, that's a good question. Because in my time, when I was working, I had the school, it was an early intervention program, right? No, early intervention school. But they also had ABA services on the side. So I had a little bit of mix. I had regular education, but I also had special needs. So my special need kids, they were getting their therapy outside of the classroom. So a group of people would come in, they would call their names, and they would take them out to have their therapy.
And I want to
Go
add
ahead. No,
something
go ahead,
to
go ahead.
Wanda. So, like for instance, with Ethan, Ethan has an IEP, but the school doesn't offer ABA. So through ABA, I have to do that through the medical with the doctors.
There you go.
Now,
That's the thing I
even if he has ABA, like he's not in special ed. He's in a regular ed class with like an ICT, which is regular ed students. And they'll have like two different teachers, and they'll have a teacher that'll help him with like his needs. But he's in a regular general ed class, not special ed. Because again, it goes depending, like some of these kids with autism, they all different levels. So like for instance, my son, autism, they consider it mild with Asperger's, that's what they call it. That his is more daily task. Educationally, my son is brilliant, but when it comes to like tying his shoes, he's 12, about to be 13, he still can't tie his shoes. He still can't dress himself. He still can't open jars. There's still certain things that we can do that he can do. So it's like he's still a 12-year-old but functions like a 7-year-old. But in school, academically, he's too advanced to be in a special ed class. Like we tried it out, it didn't work. So so they have them in the general ed class. He just has a teacher that like helps him out and gives the work like for him to understand it and to work with him emotionally and like social skills.
And it also depends on how the parents wants to do it. Because remember, the school has to work according to how the parents see fit as well. Okay? So that's always important. Why? Because the parents, again, are their child first advocate. Any more questions? Go ahead. No, go right ahead.
Thank you. God bless. I didn't want to accept this is my grandson, when he was autistic. I didn't want to accept it.
It happens.
And when I went to school for the first time that he was stepping up, I stepped out because I was crying.
Mm-hmm.
And, being in church my whole life, I think it was like 2 months ago, I'm holding him and service is going on. And I'm like, Lord, why can't you heal him?
Yeah.
But my biggest fear is me and grandma are not going to be here forever. When he gets older, when he starts his 20s or something, are there programs that are going to be there for him?
This is where I come in now. This is my area of study right here. Yes. That's one thing that you don't have to worry about. And this is why with that comes along with guardianship. Okay. Besides my parents, because I have two handicapped sisters. They have cerebral palsy with multiple disabilities, right? So when they hit the age of 21, my parents still had to go to court to make sure that they still are the guardians of their lives. Why? Because they cannot defend themselves, they cannot speak for themselves. So this is where I come in because I'm second in command, right? The way you say it, right? So it's my parents and then me. So this is why I give so much in guardianship because I think that's very important and that's the first step. Okay, so if you guys are his grandparents, you also could be his guardianship. And you guys make all the decisions for him. Because then if a day comes that he has to go to the hospital and there is no papers, you know, the hospital automatically take charge. Why? Because he has nobody to defend him. He has nobody to speak up for him. So that's when the papers come in from court. Be like, no, I'm his guardian, and what I say is what goes. Okay? So you could prepare from now. Okay, grandma and grandpa, who's your second in command? Okay, so then parents in command first, you guys are second, and a third. Because this is something that I'm very passionate about, and it's also guardianship, because we gotta prepare in all areas. We live in a world that unfortunately our special needs population has been forgotten. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why I thank God for my bishop and my church. That we, I'm sorry. I get so into it, amen. That we have done this because it's like, yes, now we can, speak about, our experiences, and then how we can help. But guardianship is very important. So, yes, to answer your question, yes, and you guys are his first advocate. So whatever you want to do is what goes. Don't ever lose your voice. Yes, especially with IEPs. If there is something, IEP is individualized.
Educational plan.
And so, yeah, there you go. Go ahead, sis.
I think that's a good question because I think a lot of parents feel that not a lot of people can handle their child the way they can. Even children who are not on the spectrum, they always say nobody's gonna take care of my child the way
Yeah,
I
the
do.
way you do. Yep.
Right? So like a follow-up question for like under that umbrella of what he was talking about, as long as a child has an IEP and they become an adult, well, that determines that they will still have services for them even if they're 35.
Well, like I have a coworker who's autistic, and we was having a conversation the other day about this. He says there's still services, but it's harder to get. Like now, I could only imagine because it's now for kids. Is to get just like I was telling him, I'm on a waiting list for 2 years for ABA. So it's like imagine as an adult. So the services is there, but it's the same thing about advocating and getting it and finding it. But there is definitely service. They have our sister Maya that's part of the group as well. She works with a school and they have like older kids as well, adult ages as well. So it's there is just the point again of getting the information. And that's why, again, thank God that Bishop brought this because it's not a lot of awareness. And it's like, where do we go for get this information? Because when my son got diagnosed, we got a late diagnosis because they couldn't figure out what it was. It was only acting out in school and in big places, like in big crowds. But besides that, he was fine. So they're like, okay, what's going on? I had to get a legal aid, an attorney, to get an IEP. Because they're like, he don't need an IEP. Educationally, he's fine. The problem is he wants to run out and do this and do that. But he was overstimulated. So it took for me to get a legal aid, to get approved for an IEP, to get the services. And it was this when he was 6, he's 12, and I'm still don't have full services. I've been on the waiting list for ABA, the school's office services, but not as much, especially now with all the cutbacks. And it depends on the district you in. It depends, of course, if you're in Manhattan or the Upper Bronx, you get everything. But in the South Bronx, there's not much.
Let's say both parents. Let's say both parents get like a high income. Will he still qualify for his services?
Yes, but you would pay. So like
Yeah,
that's
well,
another
yeah, it
thing
depends,
that happened.
yeah.
I was laughing the other day. I think it was to Angie. I was telling her that I was fighting with SSI. They denied me for $100. I'm like, that's what I want, SSI. You don't give me Medicaid. You don't give, just at least give me SSI. But unfortunately, that's the issue. I have, my husband and I both work. We don't, so everything is, if you don't get it in school, it's out of pocket. So that's why we trying to, there's services there, again, we don't know about that we don't have in the Bronx. So this is why we're trying to do this to get, because
Yeah.
there's services there that is free, because they won't tell us. There's organizations that provide free counseling. There's free therapy and free group sessions, but in Jersey. So a lot of times I go to Jersey to get services for my son. I go to Jersey for my sons to do like curriculum activities because again, here we don't have that. Well, now we do.
Yes, sis.
Are you guys gonna have a service with it?
Yes.
We would love. Yeah, we would
Well,
love.
all our services that we have, let me just say this, and everybody that's on live
Go
watching
ahead,
now.
girl. Say it.
All the services we have now, we have a lot of autistic kids in the church. And not only autistic, different, I call it abilities, because these are abilities kids have.
Yeah.
So we cater to them different ways. We have a little space in the back where we have sensory toys, and we'll give them a toy if we see the
That's
kid is
one of them that
crying.
he has right now.
Yeah. So it's like if we see the kid is crying or driving the mom crazy, either one of us will pull them out to the side, we'll give them a juice, a snack, or just let them unwind. If the service is too loud, we bring them to the back, color, do our own service back there. It's not like they still getting the word because we'll put in, they love anime, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So we always put in Bible anime or different Bible cartoon stories for them. And so our service is more than welcome. We accept them all. So don't ever feel like I want to come, but I can't because all our services, we cater to them as well.
The beauty is that we love our kids.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was just saying that because I have shared with Bishop and our church. My son is a pastor. He just became a pastor. So he loves to sing. I sing in the front. So I had got him a little fake microphone, and he was singing with me. But then I was telling him that people were complaining that he was distracting only because it was live. But I felt bad because I'm like, oh, now they took that away from him, you know. And then my son got in the spot. He's just pastoring. He's just been there a year, and he's like, oh, mom, you can't have him up there. People are complaining. I'm like, it's so sad, to have the Christian people get distracted.
Yeah, because they don't
instead of
know. They don't
focusing
get
on
it.
worship.
We
Yeah.
have a free thing here with the kids. Half the
Yeah.
times in our services, they'll come out by themselves
they'll be
now
in the
and they
front.
come up here.
And
We have
let
some
them
little
be.
strings in the back. We'll give it to them and they come. They do their own praise dances. We let them, they don't destroy the place, but we let them be free and they express themselves. A lot of autistic kids love music. Music is so it's like here. Wandy, our co-pastora, her son Noah, he's all over with the mic. And he goes around with the mic all over the church. Sometimes he goes up and plays the drums and the key and we let them express themselves because they want to come more and they, and the parents also, it helps the parents. You getting your spiritual fed, but you also getting a break with your kids and your kids are being free.
I just want to add as well, one of the reasons why we have this ministry is to inform people, right? When you're young, you are informed that before you eat, you got to wash your hands and you got to probably do that afterwards. And you have a routine of what you have to do when you get up. You have a routine of what you have to do when you go to bed. However, if we continue to hide what this is, then the church is not going to be able to be informed, right? If I'm uninformed, then I'm gonna say, okay, yeah, that child is being rowdy. But I'm also Puerto Rican and I grew up in a loud household, so I'm also not gonna care. But someone else is gonna be like, oh man, the pastor's preaching and this kid. I think there comes more compassion when you find out the why of any situation. And I think it's important that, we start to speak about these things within the church so that pastors can inform their people and the people can inform each other because children are going to do this. Because the children that she's talking about, not all of them are on the spectrum. They're just, children need to move their bodies.
Yeah.
And when it comes to children with autism, they need an input, and if they don't have an input, output, you're going to get a trigger, you're going to get something. So I think it's a matter of pastors being informed, even if you don't have a child with ASD, because everybody knows about STIs, right? and they don't have it, but they need to learn about it and how to prevent it and things that you can do to not get it. And it's the same thing with ASD. Now, this is not, you can't prevent it. It happens, but if you are informed, right? If a pastor is informed and he informs his church, there'll be compassion there. And there'll be less of he's a distraction and more of he has an input, or maybe he needs to put an output. He needs to, he has a trigger right now, because that's another thing. And so I think it's a matter of having things like this, people coming and just informing yourself. That way there'll be less of irritability amongst the people. Because to be honest, if Jesus was here, you let him go to the altar.
Exactly.
If Jesus was in that altar, you let him go.
Exactly.
Something different for me. I'm new with this. So, in our church, besides, because he loves the altar, I don't know why. He loves getting on.
That's fine.
and
Yeah, that's the
he'll
safe
do his
haven.
little jumping mood, because that's the way he is. But they bottled him up, and now during preaching, he's always on his uncle's shoulder.
Okay.
And he has him there like as a little box. What would happen to him future-wise if they keep on restraining him in that manner?
I can't answer this.
You want to answer it? Go ahead, sis. And then I give my.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go.
So again, from experience with my son, that was happening with him in school. He couldn't stay. He was the type that once he did the work, he would get bored and he has to find something to do. So he'll refrigerate, he going here. They kept trying to keep him in one box. So what happened after a while, he didn't want to go because he felt, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be stuck. I can't be free. I can't run. So that's when he would run out the classroom. So that's what it is. When they feel trapped, like, I'm not going to be there. They're going to reject. It's going to get to the point where they're not going to be, his uncle's not going to be holding him the older he gets. And let me tell you from experience, these kids are strong.
They are.
Don't go by their height. Don't go. These kids are
How
strong.
old is he?
He is 4.
You see?
5 next month.
And they strong.
I thought he was already 6.
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah, his fingers when he snaps them together. I'm like, dude, I can't even do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you, like, you'd be surprised at what they could do.
I'm telling you, you'll be
They
shocked.
bright. They bright.
They get stronger the less.
Yes, they get very stronger.
So I know.
And they become
God
aggressive.
bless him.
Uh-huh.
See, he's making noise. He's making sounds.
That's how they expect, especially
Yeah.
like, when they in a
He's comfortable.
situation, they
That's
feel
what I like.
stuck,
He's comfortable
they
here.
become aggressive, they become, with the tantrums and overstimulated, and that's no one's gonna be able to control. And then you won't even be able to get to preaching because he's gonna start yelling and screaming. Go ahead, Wendy.
No, I also think that it's important to inform, for the simple fact too that this is why we have this in our church, to give the children on the spectrum an opportunity to do what everybody else does, because they can't just get the services in school. Because I could work with my son at home, whatever the school is doing, but it's not like, a child, they need to know how to act with their brothers and sisters, right? And then they need to know how to act with their cousins. And then they need to know how to act with a stranger in the street, the kids in the street. And then people just keep it there. But how are you acting with, within the church realm? Like, those services don't just have to be at home. They could extend all the way to the church, but if the church is not, if the church is not informing themselves, then the services are just gonna stay from school to home. Because the children, they get their triggers, but there are certain children on the spectrum that you could teach them.
Yes.
That's another thing. We're not gonna act like the kids can't learn, because they can learn.
Yeah, they're
My
very smart.
my
I'm
son
telling you,
learned
Yes.
that the loudness is not gonna hurt him, and he used to tell people, "You too loud on the mic." He used to tell them, but
Yeah,
now he
yeah.
understands. He understands, and he used to hold his ears. Now you see that
Yeah.
he could handle it.
Yeah.
So it's about the people understanding and having the patience until he comes to an understanding. Okay, I know my limits. Because you could still teach him. He's very bright. He just doesn't. He's not gonna do things the way everybody else does it. But these children are really bright, and you're able to teach them. But it's a matter of how, right? And you won't know how if you're not informed. And you have to have the patience. You gotta have the patience.
And let me tell you something. Don't be surprised how verbal they could be. Because they could be very transparent. Because I'm
That
going to
will
tell you
hurt your
something.
feelings.
Ian sits next to me. And when he's upset, I ask him, are you okay? He's like, don't talk to me for the next 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, bro. I come back in 5. I'm like, are you good? And he's like, I need a moment to myself. I'm like, okay. And I come back after that moment.
Yeah.
Because I got to make sure that he's good. You understand what I'm saying? Because I want him to be, since he's so transparent with his words and he's very expressive, I come to him again. I'm like, Ian, are you good now? He's like, yes, I'm okay. Do you want to talk about it? No. I'm like, okay. But are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm okay now.
Before he got transferred to the juveniles, and he was in my class. I remember on
That's
Sundays,
her oldest son.
Her
Ian.
oldest son.
Yeah, the compartora.
He would walk into class and I'm not working today. I'm not doing no questions. Don't ask me. I'm like, okay, you want a hug? He'll be like, fine, I'll give him a hug. And he'll be the first one to participate. I'm like, okay. So it's the point of just letting them express, like, it's
Express
okay, that's
themselves,
how you
yeah.
feel, all right? And you come back around, they're like nothing. Angie, yeah, she had a question.
Giving them the space. That's important.
When do you start seeing signs of autism?
That's a good question.
And how is it diagnosed?
Okay.
For the parents that don't know.
See, the first signs of autism is, I can tell you based on my experience, but because of my cousin too. When she was small, she used to skip. Instead of walking, she would do this a lot.
Okay.
Okay? She would do this a lot. And she would always look up and go with her fingers. So since I was already in the field, I was able to determine, I'm like, yeah. So I needed more. So I would play with her and she would be like just so frightened. Because sometimes since they don't know how to differentiate at an early age what's real and what's fake. So a ella le daba miedo todo.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So I'm like, yeah, this is not normal. This is not normal. So, I spoke to my uncle. I was like, yeah, you need to evaluate her. He's like, no. At first he was in denial. Men, sometimes it happens. They could be in denial, They could be in denial, but I push. I'm like, no. Get her evaluated, get her stuff, And thankfully, she fall into the Asperger syndrome, And even though she's an adult now, and she graduated from BMCC as a graphic art designer. She did her 2 years. I'm very proud of her. But even though now as an adult, she keeps to herself, but she's barely dibujando ahí. Like, that's her thing. That's her therapy, And yeah, she is on medication, And this is what I also wanted to also bring up. Medication is not wrong for your child who's in the spectrum, okay? And let me tell you why. Because medication is to help them focus. Sometimes they can't even focus. So sometimes they need something to keep them. Her issue was that she will be bored out of her mind. And when she's bored, ay Dios mío, ¿pa' qué te quiero? When she's bored, it's like, but the medication helps you to get back on task so that you can be able to finish it, and just keep her focused, So being on medication is not bad.
Is there certain patterns that they do? How is autism diagnosed?
So autism is diagnosed by you taking them to get evaluated. That's what I'm saying. The parents are the first advocate. So if you feel at some point that that's what's going on, and you see the patterns is like the hymns, the sounds, the sounds in their mouths, the speech, their walk.
A few signs that as a parent you could look out for are one is, it's not just about having the baby. Everybody is excited when they're pregnant and they have the baby, and that they're only thinking about when to feed them, when to change them, when to bathe them. It is important for you to be observant of what your child could do and can't do. One of the things that a child on the spectrum will start to show the signs of, even at an early age of maybe 2 going on 3, they will look at toys, line them up,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they'll look at it like this.
Yeah, that's true.
And if they have anything that turns, they will watch that. You
Over
know,
and over.
now
patterns.
you can't really tell at 2 or 3, because 2 or 3, when it comes to this, what I'm about to say, no 2 or 3 year old is gonna have that eye contact, but at a specific age when they should be looking at you, they will not look at you.
Yep.
And a lot of that will be determined as a child being rude. But if you knew better, then you would understand, okay, maybe there's something there. Another thing is a lot of them, they speak. My son, he used to speak English and Spanish. Hit a year, it was gone. But then he could sing or he could repeat like a cartoon perfectly. But when I asked him, how old are you? I got gibberish. So that's another thing. They lose the speech, you know? So that's another thing. And my son was about 3 going on 4 when that was happening. And just sometimes physical. I was a physical child, so I thought he was just like me. But the fact of the matter is my son, he was big. So his nervous system wasn't in par with his body, like his height. So when he needed to do something, it was like really aggressive, but in his mind, it was normal. So things like that you can look out for. And as she said, the tippy toes. You know, there's some kids that do it, but you know, a lot of children on the spectrum, they need to do it.
Yeah.
It's a thing that is just that sensory input. And that's another thing. Like my son, I thought it was funny because I didn't know, but people would come to his face like playing around and he would yell. And I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. It's so cute. But no, it was too much for him. It was overstimulating him and he couldn't be. Another thing is they will get so irritable when it comes to a blower, vacuum, you know,
Loud sound.
Yeah.
any loud sounds, you know.
We don't even go to bars.
And to be honest, another thing is that they're good imitators.
Yes.
They are.
So my sons used to be able to imitate the sounds of trains so well. The sounds of trains was a thing, and like it was well imitated. And so it's just a lot, but those are the few things that you can look out for, like 2, 3, you know. But when they're getting a little older, that lack of eye contact, you know, their irritability to loud sounds. Sometimes you may see that they're doing something a little bit too aggressive, or they might, you know, spin around. My son, at a really young age, he used to spin around and around, and that was just his way of having comfort. And that's how he regulated himself. He still rocks. We're a family of rockers, you know. So,
But I do say this though. Whatever you see that he likes so much, take time to invest in that.
Yes. Yes.
Take the time to invest in that.
Yes. I
Yes.
was gonna say
take-
that when
yeah.
she was
Take
like,
time to invest in it.
Come on the highway, he already knows that McDonald's is like right there.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
can take
Yeah. They
them
have
somewhere.
a picture memory.
Yeah.
Like,
We could go to a place one time and he goes, I know I've been there. I know how to get there. How? We only went there one time.
no, they very good with
And
memory. Very
memory
good.
and like where I'm gonna add to Wandy. My son got a late diagnosis because I was in denial. Like he's always been extra smart. By 9 months walking, everything. So I was like, oh, he's advanced. My only boy, boys is different. So I kept on, he's just different. Since he was always advanced, I had him in school since 2. And the teacher would tell me, he doesn't like to share. He doesn't like to play with other kids. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's because they 7 years apart. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's because he don't have no one to play with. Every time he'll be the perfect kid, does all the work, ABCs by 2-year-old, you name it, colors, shapes. But when it came to playing with other kids, it was always an issue. But to me, oh no, it's just because he's never around anyone to play with. As he went to kindergarten, it was the same thing. And I was still in denial. It was only in school where I had issues and summer camp. Any places like that, home, he was fine. Anyway, only school, whenever it's more than 10 kids, is an issue. And it was because of the sound. You couldn't touch my, to this day, it's like, you can't touch him. You touch him, he's going to hit you. He's going to knock you out. So I always tell people, please ask if you could touch him because they don't like to be touched.
Oh yeah.
They
Ask
don't
questions.
like to be touched. Don't touch them. Don't. Oh, listen, it's so bad. Especially like my son has sensory. A lot of kids with autism have sensory process. My son has that. If we have this thing, he loves Target sweatpants. I have 500 black Target sweatpants. If I put him a gray sweatpants, no, because those hurt. Jeans hurt.
He
Sneakers,
likes his sweatpants.
he wears one pair of sneakers and we have those sneakers in all colors and Crocs. Because if you change it, it's like, no.
Yeah.
And then it's like back to with the thing. My son, it was to a point where he was always advanced with talking. They kept labeling him as nonverbal in school. And that's what threw me off. Like how he's nonverbal. He talks like he's very intellectual. Like they've had chance to speak with him and it's like he really don't talk to no one. But when you get to talk, you're like, wait, there's nothing wrong with you. And a lot of times I thought he was faking it. I'm like, he can't have autism. Like, no, because it's like how he could do this if he has that. How can he do that? But it's just the way the brain after therapy and Googling, I'm always on TED Talk and always searching and stuff. I realize it's just that the way the brain works for them.
Yeah.
And another thing that I'm big on is that society is always trying to figure out and get like them to fit into our world. And I feel it should be the other way. We have to fit into their world. And then is another thing as us Hispanics. We grew up very strict, very stuff. So it's like a lot of things, you know, when people be like, oh, it's because you baby him or you're not strict with him or you're not. But it's like, it was to the point, if my son is the loudest in the room, but don't yell around him. Don't, makes the most noise. But if you're making noise, it hurts, it's too loud. And so it's like, I'm like, okay, after a while and after learning with experience, I realized that like, let me get to know him. Let me do things his way to see. And it's like, there's going to be times where, yes, I have to get tough and set boundaries, but it doesn't work like the way I did with my girls. Like I had to learn how to parent all over again. Cause I'm like, okay, yelling at him is not working. It was triggering him. It was making it worse to the point that he would shut down and not even want to talk to us. So, okay, what do? He loves electronics. We have so many electronics, so many coloring books, crayons, and music. I was just complaining, the ukulele and the kazoo is driving me insane. But it's like, it keeps him calm. He be in the corner, I'm like, here we go. The dogs are even annoyed. But it's like, that's how they stimulate their mind and their brain. Like, I could tell him, let's go to the movies. No, we can't go to the movies. And it was to the point that I cried, that I was like, God, why are you doing this to me? I felt left out. Because I'm like, everybody's going to the movie with their kids, going to not even to the park I could go to. If I go to the park, I have to go in the morning when there's no one there. Because if it's 2 more kids, this is what he'll do. Let's go. He'll drag me. We got to go. And when he says, let's go. Because that's how they are. When they want to leave, you have to leave because if he's going to tore up the whole place. So it's like, you know, it's not easy, but I'm telling you, there's times I would say, like, there's times I'm in denial. To this day, I'm like, no, it can't be because how he's doing this and how he's doing that. But
He's good.
Sure. I really think that there's not really, because like my son he always spoke and then he became nonverbal when he was 7 to like 9. And then after a while, but it was only nonverbal in school and around people. He would only talk to us in the home. So to everybody else, it's nonverbal. So again, it's all about therapy. This is why it's very important with the speech therapy and everything to start early intervention so that he could get the help before he goes to school. The 3K kindergarten. No, I was afraid. I was the same way. And we was in regular school and public school, and I went through a lot. So I was gonna homeschool him first. And then I met a lady that I know for a while. She was like, oh, we have this school. It was a charter school. And I'm like, wait a minute, charter school's even worse. But she's like, no, come in. We have programs for them. So I went, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bring my son. He has this thing that he's afraid of any male figure. And anybody with strong character. And I never understood why. I'm like, he was always afraid if a guy talks to him, he would not respond to nothing. So I go to the school, all the teachers were guys. I'm like, what am I going to do? Male teachers, all of them. One of the teachers grabs my son and he walked. And my husband's like, look, he left with him. He's still with him the whole time. So I was like, you know what? This is it. We've been there 2 years now. His dream is right here on Bruckner Boulevard, 20 Bruckner. We've been there 2 years now. And when I tell you amazing, he's a regular ed class, but they give him the support. They have, like right now, I was explaining to her I'm having an issue with him. This is how they get you, these kids. Lately, he's been getting sick in school. They calling. Every week, I get a phone call at least once. He's throwing up. But when we get home, he's fine. So I'm like, okay. Tuesday, the same thing again. And I tell the teacher this time, I'm not coming. He said, we have a policy. If a child throws up, he automatically has to go home. I told my husband, wait. So that means Ethan must know. about
knows
this
what he's
policy.
doing.
Because how you coming home and you're not sick? You're only sick in school. So I had called the teacher and I was like, he's playing with you guys and he's playing with me. Something's going on that he doesn't want to be in school. And on top of that, he loves drawing. He draws on himself whenever he's overstimulated. He draws, and I'm like, Monday he comes home, marker all over his face, all over his pants. He chews on his clothes, holes on his shirt. So I'm like, okay, something's wrong. Something's going on. So I reached out to the school. They set up a meeting, and by today, this was Monday, already today, the team pulled him out, and they work with him individual. So again, it's about finding a school that caters to them, that has the program and schools that cares. Because if your schools don't care, I'm telling you, you're going to go through it.
Yeah.
And especially with IEPs. IEPs, I don't know what it is with schools. They give a hard time. But I'm going to tell y'all something. By law, if you request an IEP by email, they have, I think it's 30 to 60 days to respond, to initially respond. If they do not, you automatically have a lawsuit against the school district.
Yep.
So whenever you send an email, it has to be through email. Legally, they have to at least start the process between the 30 to 60 days. If not, you can call the district and they're going to make a big deal about it. So when he's going now to kindergarten or to the regular school, make sure that he's going into, ask the school he's in now, do you guys give the IEP, early interventions? And there's another thing, there's 2 different evaluations. You could get evaluated from your school and from the doctors. When you get an evaluation from the school, it's only an educational evaluation. They're only going to tell you what he's capable of educationally. Meaning when you get an evaluation from your doctors, from the pediatrician, they do everything.
Everything.
And they'll send you to neurologists. They're going to send you to all these therapies. And that's when you're going to get, it's a long process. It takes like almost 6 months because you got to see a speech, like all kinds of doctors.
Everything.
But you're going to get your help from there.
You will.
Everything. Every kind of doctors you think you name, even a cardiologist, the kids have to see.
Yeah.
To get evaluated. So, because it's like a lot of kids with autism, they say they suffer from heart problems, health problems, there's different things. And I want to touch another thing Jay Sweeney was saying about medication. I was the first one. I was so against medication. I was like, I didn't want them to drug my kid up. I was against it. Then again, because I was uneducated at the time, but as the experience went, I was like, you know what? He needs it because he has really bad anxiety and social anxiety. So when he was around kids and stuff, it was to the point it was making him sick, throwing up, migraines, and it was all from anxiety. So what I went to Jacoby and we see a holistic doctor, which they give you medication, but it's more natural medications they work on. Like more like vitamins and stuff. But again, it depends on the child. Some kids need stronger medication, so they will give you that. But it all again depends on the situation. So you could speak from the doctors from now, so you could have IEPs and everything, because IEP, especially the schools, they give a hard time to give IEPs. And when you go to your meetings in IEP, make sure you have all your questions, because they're gonna say, oh no, there's nothing wrong. No. And even after an IEP, because I've experienced this as well. When you get an IEP, it's basically like this. We're talking, the teachers, everybody's there. They're going to give you the doctor's report. What is going on? What's the issue? What's happening? They'll put that on the list. Okay, we're going to give this services, that service, this other service. But as parents, if we don't follow up, we won't even know.
That's the key.
I had situations before, like my son qualifies for an iPad from the school because his autism affects his muscles in his hands. So he can't write. He can't hold the pencil correctly. His hands get tired. So he uses assistive technology. It's been on his iPad. He never got it. I didn't know this because I'm thinking, oh, he got it. I'm not in school, so I don't know. Up to one day, he's like, oh, he was having a bad day at school. They called me, and I'm like, what happened? The teacher was making him write, and I'm like, wait a minute. So we have to be on top of the IEP. And they only do IEP once a year. And they'll give you like a updated meeting to like refresh it. And they'll leave the things the same if you don't fight it. The ball is in your court when it comes to IEP. They have to do what you say. It's not what they say. It's what you want.
Yep.
So if you say, I want my grandson to get counseling 3 days a week, he's going to get counseling 3 days a week. If I want someone to sit with my son in the class, then I'm going to have someone sit in my son in my class. IEPs, they have to go by you. And a lot of parents don't know that
They don't
because
know.
the school tries to make it on there and, well, we don't see nothing wrong with your child or this or that. So it's very, very important that the IEPs are very looked thorough and followed up all the time. Yes.
Cute, right? So, just make sure that the school that he's going to has all the services that you're gonna need. That's very important.
And you could also speak to the pediatrician, and they could also give you recommendations of schools as well
Oh, definitely.
that they know that have good programs for kids with autism. And if you want, I could give you the information to Bruckner before you leave, because they take them from kindergarten. Oh, okay. Yeah, Yonkers has a lot of programs too. A lot.
That's good.
I also want to add that you can always tour schools. I think it's really important to be able to tour the schools on the list. If he's in a school that you like, good. Glory to God.
So that, yeah.
But whether it's in the Bronx, Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, I think Staten Island.
You got
But
it.
you can tour schools. And if the school is not to your liking, your child doesn't have to go there
Exactly.
at all. You got to be ready to be that advocate,
Yes.
So always tour the school to make sure that whatever classroom that he's in is going to cater to the kind of kid he is. They have, in autism spectrum, they have classrooms that look like this. It's bare because those children cannot have anything on the walls. They have some that may have a little bit mild. So it does cater to the child, I thank God that I was able to find a school, an early intervention for Ian. It was, you can say like a pre-K, but like pre-K.
Yes.
Because he was 3, and so in that school alone, you couldn't go in until you rang the buzzer and they had to see your face. That's one. Then they had bathrooms that were small. The toilet seats were low, the sinks were low. It catered to little children. Exactly. And on top of that, every room was different. There was rooms that were completely bare. It was just for the kids to go in and have their own imagination and learn through like a Montessori approach almost. And then there's other rooms that were, catered to different children on the spectrum. And on top of that, occupational therapy and physical therapy rooms that looked up to par. And you have the right to do that because the danger of not speaking up for your child and getting what he or she needs and not touring these places is that they could get hurt. And you know what? When a child is nonverbal,
And because of
he
the-
can't speak up for himself. And if you're not there, what's gonna happen then? Who takes the blame in that situation? You know what I mean? So it's important that you do tour. Make sure that you advocate in those IEPs. And if there's something you don't like, even after it's done, you have every right to go back.
Yep.
And they have to change it.
All
Whether
year.
they like it or not, they
Yes.
have to change it.
And they're
by
not gonna
law.
like that. But
Yeah, they don't like that. But
that's
yeah.
just that.
And just do it all. I promise you, all your communication through email, so you can have paper trail. Because I'm like, oh no,
Oh, I was gonna
never
say that
told
your
me.
receipts.
You need everything
Yeah.
through email because they take this very serious. But I don't know what it is with the school system. It's like it's not.
It's changing.
So it's very important to ask questions. What programs you have? Because that's what I always ask. What do you have for my son? I see everything for everybody else, but what about my kid? So it's like ask questions. Maya works in Yonkers in a school for autism as well. So, even that's one thing for the life. Like we have connections out of state as well. So if you in Florida, anywhere you are, you could always hit anybody up. We could connect you to someone there that can give you the information. So, any other questions?
Any other questions? You sure? No, I'm sorry. Gabriel, you good? Yeah. He's Big Bear here in the church.
Yeah, that's our baby.
He's our big baby here.
So yeah, thank you. Thank you for everything. We're gonna have our next one. We'll let you know. We'll put out the flyer up. Any questions? Anybody has any questions online, you could write it down, and we could write them down and answer you.
Oh no, because I had told a couple of people
Okay.
that have autism kids, and they were like, if it's able to do it on a Friday because they don't have school the next day.
So we tried about it. We're gonna see what we can because right now we have a booked program, but we're gonna see. We're gonna work with Bishop and Wandy, and if we can see, we can make it happen for a weekend. No.
Bishop, you want to say something? No, you good? Oh,
Oh yeah. So we have Wandy. That Wandy didn't get to our last live. So this
Come on,
is
Wandy.
Wandy, our co-pastora.
Yeah, so my name is Wandy Soto. I am the co-pastor of this lovely church. I wasn't able, unfortunately, to be here for the first time, but I was there in spirit. No, but I'm one of the people that Bishop had approached along with Jay Suni and my sister Natalie that you guys met in the first podcast, because of the situation that he expressed in the first one. And my experience is that I have two kids on the spectrum. My first experience was my first son, and it wasn't easy. Again, I thought that it was just, he was like me, you know, I was a fallen angel when I was a child. And so I'm just gonna keep it, I'm gonna keep it straight. Yeah, my mother took me to the altar and everything because she needed help, you know. So I thought he was just like me, you know, but I understood the vision, you know, because it's important. As I said earlier, it can't just be from the house to the school. That services, it needs to be extended to the church because you want to show them if they can, because sometimes a child is going to take a long time to be in society, right? It's not going to be as easy as other children, you know, and the sad thing is it's not only children. You can have a 25-year-old in your church with autism and they don't even know it, especially if they're female, if they're a woman. Because if you go into any school right now, you're going to see a lot of boys in the classroom. Why? Because it's really hard to diagnose a girl unless she's showing it. She might be nonverbal or she's like, you know, really aggressive in a certain way that somebody's like, you know what? This person, you know, this young girl, she has autism. But other than that, most of the girls who are autistic, they're highly functioning. And even though they have high and good grades, in their mind, they're not focused. So some women, they get diagnosed at 17, at 35, sadly 45, and this is not a joke, you know? So, you know, that's my experience that I do have a child, you know, on the spectrum. And I also have a brother. I have a brother who's on the spectrum and he helps me a lot. He helps me a lot, you know, when I need anything in terms of babysitting and everything. So that's my experience and my expertise, just having it in my family. But I'm also a researcher for those who are looking online. I'm a researcher. I'm always asking why, you know, and when something like this happens, you can't just stay with your arms crossed. You have to know, like, as Jackie was saying, in any child, right? Even if they're not on the spectrum, you're asking, how do I get in this child's world? But on the spectrum, you definitely need to ask that question. And, you know, in this ministry, we're constantly asking that question because for him, I have my son who's autistic, but he's different still. I need to be able to get to know him. I need to be able to build rapport with him so he could trust me here. And then I can help you so you could use the bathroom when you're in church. Or you need to come for prayer. We know what to do. Or he's having a meltdown. We'll melt down with him, but in a way where he's like, you know, he's able to come and we able to coax him into, you know, that safe space that everybody wants when they're going through something. So, you know, for those, you know, if you would like something for a Friday, we would definitely be, we'll definitely have that in mind because that's something that we're trying to do, making sure that it caters to the families because the families too, we're thinking about them, not just the child on the spectrum, but the parents of the children on the spectrum, the siblings of those on the spectrum, that sometimes that is the effect. The effect is not only the child, but the other children that feel like they're not getting what they need from their parents because you got to be hands-on with someone who is further down in the spectrum than just having mild autism. And we got to think about that. You know, should only a child on the spectrum be the only one getting counseling. You know, there could be a lot of things going on in the home, you know, that is affecting even his output, his input. So we're just here to make sure that we're informing our people for that. And we're going to continue doing it. And hopefully, I believe it, you know, I believe that the more we get informed and the more connections we have, the more of those connections could come to the Bronx. So it can't just be, he's amazing at that.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
He's amazing.
I can't even do that. He's
And-
bebopping right now.
No, so hopefully to bring that same kind of services in the Bronx, you know, so people, and it can just normalize this because, as Bishop was saying in the first podcast, it's not a demon.
It's not like, come on.
Like a demon is not gonna want to just come
no
here,
church over here,
you know.
so we can educate.
Yeah.
So his mom thinks it was a shot.
It's a lot of
She
things.
has another baby, so she's making sure like he doesn't get touched. You know, like along. You know how they give it to us babies, like one shot.
Yeah.
at a time
Yeah.
together?
Yeah, you gotta.
The other baby, she's like, no, not this time.
But you see, it's kind of traumatic for her. That's a traumatic response. You know, she's now there's a lot of mothers and fathers who feel that way. Right? And so, yeah, he likes me. So I don't blame you, brother.
You saw it. Wait, look at it. Hey.
He knows. So, you know, it's one of the things we speak about. And it's one of the things we also want to address. Like, we don't just want to keep it with the children with autism, but like have a safe space for the parents and the siblings to kind of speak on what's going on. So the pastors can know what's going on with their members.
Look at that.
It's like
What?
one of them. My
It
son-
happens.
You know what? It happens.
Mhm.
my son
It
is
happens.
ninth grade, and Stevenson High School. Autistic. You know, he just have like two kids. So he teaches like two at night, and then the other one is sixth grade. So they big kids. And I don't know if it's just because I don't know if they are denial. I don't know what it
It
is.
happens.
It
So
happens.
I guess they get the stress of just teaching the other kids. But not because he's my son, but he's one of the best teachers that any autistic parent can have. You know? Yeah, he's the best. Like everybody loves him, and he's very humble, and he treats them like their own. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to teach her like for my grandkids, like, you know, what I'm looking for.
You will find it.
You will.
You will.
You will. They still, you know, like individuals that they still passionate about what they do. You know. Introduce the other two that are,
Oh.
the three that are here.
We have Maya didn't introduce herself the last time. Come Mia.
Go ahead, sis.
And Angie.
God bless you all. My name is Mia, and I work in the department of, I work in Westchester with autistic kids and kids with physical disabilities, speech disabilities, all of the above, everything. And honestly, for me, I'm a year into this job, and the experience for me has been a learning experience for myself. I always inform people that I like to learn, you know, about everything. You know, I feel like we could always learn new things in our daily lives. And for me, the experience has been good because I've been working with kids from the age of 7 all the way up until the age of 26. And a lot of people have their different perceptions of, why the kids are there that we work with. Because I worked in the residential, and now I work in the school as a teacher's assistant. But where I work at, it's hand in hand. It goes, pairing together because the education is with the school as well. We transport the kids from the residence all the way to the school that's in Ardsley. So the residence is in Yonkers and the school is in Ardsley. There at the school, a lot of the staff that we work with, they're also learning the children that we work with. They don't have it all figured out, and they have this perception of, oh, why would the parents, send their kids to the school? Why would they send their kids to the residence to live there? But it's because, like you guys were stating, like some people don't have the education on the kids that we deal with. They're in denial. They're in the stages of being in denial. They don't believe that their kids have a disability. some of them physically can't do the job because, they just can't. The kids are very strong. When they're overstimulated, or if they're not understanding that they're, if sometimes they don't even understand that they're overstimulated, and their best reaction is maybe to hit or throw something. And they don't mean to do it, but it's the fact that we have to educate ourselves on it, because it's technically their world. It's not our world. And like you said, we shouldn't make it fitting them into our world, but fitting ourselves into their world, because it's something for us to learn as humans. We're able to do our daily, routine, daily task in the world. There, we're teaching them their ADLs. Just something simple as brushing your teeth, learning how to flush a toilet. We take those things for granted, and then working there, for me, I don't take that for granted anymore. I'm grateful, that I'm able to do these things every day. And then I'm also grateful that the Lord has put me in a position to work with these kids, because before I got this job, I didn't know I had the patience. I didn't know that I had the patience inside of me. I go to work and I don't know if I'm gonna get smacked in the face, punched in the face, but I have the patience to work with those kids. I have the patience to work with them. I understand that, they're trying to communicate something to us, And as much as it might be difficult to even have that patience, it's a growing experience. I'm still learning along with the children that I'm serving. So, I like the field right now, and I didn't think that I would be working in like the education or the school system, because I have my degree in criminal justice and not for education. However, like now I have but God. But now I have a different I have a different expectations, basically, working with the kids for people, because we have to understand that even if it's not a person with a disability, we have to still be open-minded to learning people. Not everyone is going to have the same personality as us, but we have to be in that mentality to grow. That's for all of us, and that's even important for the parents. Because if you are in denial, this is an experience for you to learn. Like, you have to relearn yourself. You have to teach yourself patience. You have to teach yourselves all of these things as well, along with being able to be the voice for the child that you have, whether it's a grandkid, whether it's a nephew, a niece, or your son or daughter. You have to be open-minded to that. So for me, I like the position that I was put in. I didn't expect to be put in this position, but this is something that God obviously saw a fit for me, and the Lord has given me the room to grow in it. So for that, I'm grateful.
And we have Sam back there as well.
Go ahead, Sam. Stand up. No, she can stand. Sister Angie, stand up so they can know you. So they can know you. They don't know.
That's
Hello.
part of our group. So we're gonna have a next live, and it's gonna be in person, but this time we're gonna have a school that's gonna give us information on their programs. We're gonna have Horizon program that's gonna be here. We're gonna have an occupational therapist, and we're gonna try to get more services, more information. So that's gonna be in person. We'll put out a flyer with more details, and we also having our main event is gonna be in April 27th, the Autism Walk in St. Mary's Park. We'll have information about that as well. Yeah, huh? No, it's never been done. This is the first walk in the actual Bronx.
Amen.
We've never had
I'm
an
very excited for
autism
this.
walk over here. It's always been Manhattan, South Street, Seaport, Jersey. We've never had one here. So this is a big deal, especially that there's a lot of need.
No, I also want to say that for those who are online and they are, speaking to Bishop Rodriguez or Pastora Rodriguez and asking, when do you have services catered to children with autism? We are going to be hosting, it's going to be a regular service, but it's going to be our team hosting that last service in April.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do want to make it clear that you don't have to wait for April to come to our church, because we have parents, even if they're not on the team, we have youth who
Yes.
are autistic. We have parents who have autistic children. And if they don't have autistic children, City of Refuge is City of Refuge for a reason,
Yes.
right? It's where the rejected and the unwanted and the people who make the worst mistakes, they come here, So feel free to come to the church and just enjoy yourself in the presence of the Lord. Your child is gonna scream. Guess what? Someone who's
gonna
not
scream too
autistic
with
is
it.
also gonna scream. So, do not feel, for those of you who may feel like you don't want to come because, they're not catering to your child or they're not catering to you. Maybe you have autism. Come to church. 625 East 137th Street. You just come and enjoy. We have our services every Wednesday at 7:30. We speak both English and Spanish, and I speak body language. So if you don't speak none of those things, I got you. And we also have our services at 11:30 on Sundays. Amen. We have other special services that if you follow our church page, we have Instagram, we also have Facebook. All of the information of the things that we do, and we're always doing something. All of it is gonna be there. So we will have the link for those who are already watching us online, but there's gonna be a link there to our Instagram pages where you're gonna be able to see what the church is doing and when the next events are gonna be there. So feel free to just follow us there, and get all the information that you may need, and feel free to DM if you have any questions after this live. Okay, because we're here to answer that in the best of our ability. What I love about this ministry is that there's no head. God is the president, the vice president. The vision is the president. And we just all come in where we fit. Whoever has the expertise, and we teaching each other
Yes.
while we're teaching everyone else. So everyone is going to be up to par. Okay? Just got to put that on.
And whatever ideas and stuff you want to see more of, what information you want, again, let us know so we could bring this all to you guys. It's all new to us and it's new to you, but we have the connections for the resources. If we can't answer, we'll get someone that can answer, but your questions will definitely be answered.
We got you. At the end of the day, we got you.
God bless you and good night.
Amen.